What's up, Candy fam? My name is Nate. This is Flipping Candy, and I'm back with another market update. We have a lot to talk about. I'm sorry I've been gone. Got a little sick this weekend. Still a little bit sick, but good enough to be on camera. Well, I'm never good enough to be on camera, but let's do this. First of all, we have a new entrant into the top 6. We've got a new Shohei listing. It had been sitting there since the 15th, so this seller exerted some patience, which is impressive in this market. But we've got the same top 5 that we already had. Shohei coming in with a little bit of bump in that 6th spot, pushing our total to almost 100,000 in the top 6 sales. In addition to that, we have a couple of interesting new card sales in the top 12. Both the Acuna Epic and the Tim Anderson Epic of their jersey serials were sold over the weekend. As you can see, serial 13 on Acuna, 7 on Anderson. So those were a couple notable sales. In addition to that, one of the more interesting sales that popped out to me this weekend on the 22nd was the 409 of 409 Cedric Mullins that sold for $24. Someone clearly did not do their homework. They've not been in the Discord. They haven't watched any of these videos. Not exactly sure what they were doing, but somebody grabbed a fun little card there for $24. We also saw some fluctuation with packs this weekend. So we are sitting at 600 and 1250 with each of the 2 different packs. We saw a max out around 750 on the Uncut Gems and 1400 on the All-Star packs. Give or take, we saw it push up towards 1500 momentarily, but those are the roughly where we ended up as a peak. They've kind of settled in here at 600 and 1200, and we still have not seen Vlad, Trout, or Tatis pulled for the legendary one-of-ones. So taking a look at the top 6 here, the Vada, as people like to call it in the Discord. So we've got Trout here. Everything is a little bit down compared to where it was in the last video, which would have been last Friday. Today's Wednesday. What we saw was a run up Thursday, Friday last week, followed by a kind of a plateau this weekend and a little bit of a dip back down currently through the first half of week number 2 here. So you can see these numbers with Trout, pretty similar across the board. You know, you've got some buying opportunities on these Ohtani and Trout cores if you believe in the project long term. I do myself. But, you know, these are still very expensive cards, but they're kind of settling into a little bit more of a realistic floor for now. What happens in the future? It's impossible to say. There are so many factors at play here. We've got low serial counts, low mint counts. We've got a lockout in place right now. It's not baseball season, so once the marketing gets going, if we continue to get good news about the lockout being ended, anything is possible for this project, and I don't need to tell you that. Again, Tatis, we've seen him dip as far down as around 600. There are a lot of good buys to be had right now with people that are a little bit panic selling. It's not abundantly available, but there are definitely things to be found, and it's not nearly as crazy as it was in the first weekend. Lots of good conversation happening in the Discord. I saw somebody grab a sub 600 core Tatis. Congrats to that person. I forget who it was off the top of my head, but yeah, so there are buys to be had if you're in this project long term right now. Whether or not we continue to dip down further, impossible to say. Invest at your own risk. And then we've got Vlad here. You know, similar trajectory to the rest of them, dipping back down just a little bit where he was on Friday. We've seen it go up and then back down. Soto the same way. And really it was Soto and Acuna that had you bought last Monday, Tuesday, you're seeing still the biggest return right now. Back below 600 for the Acuna cores. Obviously there's some injury concerns there. Not necessarily going to start the year on the field, but Hopefully he gets back out there sooner rather than later. I'm holding an uncommon myself. Got lucky, ripped it in a pack, and chose not to sell it. So then in addition, we'll take a look at Witt and Rodriguez again. These had both bumped up to around, I want to say 450 core floors. At this point, they've settled back in like the rest of the market, back down around 300, fairly reasonable compared to the rest of the market. J-Rod at the moment has flipped Witt for the top core in the Uncut Gem set. The Uncut Gem set was a little bit more interesting to look at because it lagged behind the All-Star set. Especially some of the cheaper cards, not all of them. Some of them are still in the same category as Kittredge and the other relievers, Melanson. But some of these saw a more steady rise and a more gradual fall off because they just hadn't quite hit the mark that the All-Star cards had hit in the beginning. So not as drastic a fall off as with these, although it's not been a crazy drastic fall off depending on when you bought. Hopefully you didn't buy the peak. In addition to some of these individual cards, Serial 1, shout out to Clay Graphics, who's been super helpful over the last few days. Some really good conversation. But he has implemented a new page on his Serial 1 website showing the floors of the entire sets. So for people that are looking to collect full sets, these are your core floors at this snapshot to collect the entire set if you went core only. So pretty useful piece of information. Feel free to give him a shout out in the Discord. He's doing some awesome stuff with Serial 1. And then on Serial Chaser, we saw a couple recent legendary rips. JD Martinez is a little bit older at this point, happened earlier on in the weekend. Brendan Davis just happened. So these are the only two legendary rips that we've seen since opening weekend. So interesting to see those pulled, but also pretty cool to know that these packs are still extremely valuable because of those legendaries that are remaining. And it's also really slow in seeing these packs opened. The packs are still not being opened at a very rapid rate. There's still a lot of them available. I think we're still sitting somewhere around 3,400, and it'll be interesting to see the continued trajectory of that as well. So we're going to take a look at some of the plot graphs on Serial Chaser. Shout out to Willagaroon for having this amazing data at our disposal. I decided to pull out a few guys at different tiers within the market. Ohtani's an obvious one, and Ohtani also, his chart shows a pretty good explanation of what the market has done so far. So you can see just an unbelievable flurry of sales on the first weekend. Tough to determine what the market was at the time. Some people bought high, some people bought low. We saw it kind of steady out into the Monday, Tuesday of last week, and then somewhere around Tuesday night, that's when the market started to take off. And as you can see, you've got the run up that happened from the 18th to the 20th, and then we kind of plateaued out starting this past Friday going into the weekend, and we've seen a slow dip back down to about where we were right when the run up started to happen, but still holding well above where it was if you made some purchases on those first couple days and you were able to get some of those $300 Acuñas, or there were $75 Devers available, things of that nature. Those are all still at least up 2x at this point. Bichette is another one that really represents what this market has done in general. He saw a pretty significant spike. He ran up as high as 550 last Thursday. The rundown on him has brought him back down into the low 200s at this point. So again, it was something where people were kind of figuring out what the market was going to be. Some cards like Bichette were identified as kind of being out of whack with where some of the other stars were, and you can see that he took off really rapidly before settling back into a more reasonable price at this point. And then taking a look at Bobby Witt, just to show what I was talking about in terms of the Uncut Gem set, it wasn't quite as drastic as you saw with some of these stars in the All-Star set. We didn't have that same multiplier of a spike during that bull run in the second half of last week. So it did go up, as we spoke about in the last video. We did see the 150 Bobby Witts going up to 300. We saw the same thing happen with J-Rod. They did go as high as 450 at a certain point, but as you can see, not many sales above that 400 mark, and we have settled back down into closer to 300 at this point for a floor for Bobby Witt. And then I thought that taking a look at one of the lesser cards, such as Alex Reyes, and as you know, a lot of the other relievers and some of the less exciting players in the All-Star set, those saw the least amount of movement. They were going for somewhere in the 30 to 40 range the first couple days, saw them bump up around 50. They've settled back into around 40 now. So not a whole lot of movement on the less desirable cards, which is not necessarily surprising. So jumping into the Candy Discord, one of the key pieces of information to know about right now is that unfortunately the 3% credit card fee has not been removed from the transaction page yet. So as you can see, I just pulled up one with some easy numbers to look at. Subtotal of $1,000 with the Candy balance checked. The service fee is still showing the full 8%, which is made up of the standard 5% fee that's always going to happen on each side of the equation. But then it's an additional 3% for a credit card fee that was supposed to be removed for the Candy balance purchases, but unfortunately has not yet been fixed. But the devs are well aware of it and are working on a solution. We also saw a really fun AMA with Brett Phillips. For those of you that have been in the Discord, Brett has been in there pretty frequently. Really fun guy. I've talked to him a bit myself. He's just in there to have a good time. This guy loves baseball. He appreciates the fans, and we appreciate him. So thank you, Brett, for being such a cool part of this community. And hopefully some of you guys were able to check out that AMA because it was a good time. In addition, we have a meetup in New York City coming on the 17th of February. Gary V himself has been at the first two. If you go into the announcements, you can see the video that was posted. But here's some information on that. Be sure to check that out. We also have a call to action from the devs looking for some community input on the metaverse, or how to implement Candy into the metaverse. So definitely check that announcement out if you have any input on that. And we also had a posting for a Bloomberg podcast with Scott Lawton, the CEO of Candy Digital. I listened to it. It's pretty interesting stuff, talking about how because of the partnership with the MLB, they have access to so many old assets, whether it be video, audio, pictures, and they're digitizing all of it, turning it into NFTs, creating potential future collectibles. He also talked about the 2022 set having dynamic stats, meaning if you click on a card that you own, you'll be able to see his real stats for the season up to that point. And he also spoke about other future utility and what certain collection rewards might be, and a lot of speculation, but clearly, founded in some thoughts that he has about the future of this project. So it's only 30 minutes long, and his section is only about 20 minutes long, so I definitely recommend giving that a listen. And that is it. That's another market update. I appreciate you guys being here. If you made it this far, clearly you are very into Candy, as am I. This has been a really exciting last week to take a look at everything that has happened. There was a lot of speculation about what might happen this past weekend. I think some people were disappointed, but that's just the reality of NFT projects. When things are running up really hot, eventually you're going to see a correction, but that doesn't mean that we can't see a correction back in the other way. So I would expect to see some fireworks if these floors continue to drop down low. People are going to come in and start to take advantage of these sales. So hey, to each their own. Whatever your method is, have a good entry point, have a good exit strategy, and do what it is that's right for you. But most of all, enjoy it, have fun, buy guys that you like, collect these cards, and be in it for the long haul. So good luck out there, happy buying, happy selling, and I'll see you guys in the next one.